Sons and daughters of Sigmar, rejoice, for we are back with the showdown between the Empire, who shall be led by Volkmar the Grim with his powerful ass mustache, and the dinosaurs, who are going to be helmed by Tehenwyn. And if memory serves, he's going to be on his pterodactyl, and he actually has some pretty good stats. 63, 45, 456, with good armor piercing values, a bonus versus infantry, and also poison, so pretty good sniper, like going after casters, and of course they do have a witch hunter as well, so perhaps there's going to be a glorious duel. So as far as army goes, here in the front line, it's going to be 3 Flagellants and Sigmar Sons, so the truly loyal to Sigmar here. And I really like the fact that they're unbreakable. That is one of the main issues with the Empire, is their state troops and, oftentimes, just their basic infantry. Even greatswords do buckle fairly quickly against heavy pressure. So like Croxagors and even against like red-crested skinks, they can actually go down relatively quickly with a little bit of support from the dinos. So having that unbreakable front line is definitely very nice, especially if you're going to be investing in expensive cav that can really serve as the hammer of that formation, as well as cannon. So the cannons here in the back, we have a great cannon as well as the hammer of the witches. Going to be going straight Rob Zombie, trying to burn through Croxagors and some of those big targets. And oftentimes you do see dino players come in with heavy cav in this matchup. So yeah, you see Croxagors to smash through your front line, you see Cold One Knights, and the cannons are pretty good against all those targets. Plus it's also going to force your opponent to deal with them, in which case if they overcommit to the back line, they dive it, you're able to countercharge with your Demogryph Knights and get some really juicy value. So 2 cannons, front line, like I said, is going to be Flagellants and Sigmar Sons, and we do also have some great swords. So for the Cav Force, we're going pretty elite. We have Demogryph Knights as well as the Royal Outdwarf Gryphites. We're going to be led by Volkmar the Grim. So Volkmar the Grim, pretty similar to Archlector, but he heals, so you don't have to babysit him as much. You don't need to invest heals. He does have the Jade Griffin. I mean, unless he's taking a ton of burst damage. But he does have the Hammer of Sigmar to buff the melee attack of these troops, plus he's Shield of Faith. So I really like to kind of, force those big Cav fights. Get the Gryphites just going fisticuffs with Croxagors or some Cav units. Buff them up, for Sigmar. And just get in there and have some fun. So that's going to be the core here. We do also have the Witch Hunter. So the Witch Hunter, a lot of people don't use him, as often as they used to before, but he does have a new accusation. So it lowers melee defense, which is actually really good in these big Cav fights. So you go in there with the Demogryph Knights, you buff up with Sigmar, you debuff their melee defense and their armor with accusation. And the missile resist is nice as well, but it's more about getting the armor and the melee defense debuff on your opponent's troops. Definitely very powerful, and he has good armor piercing. You can shoot down dinosaurs, pretty good at sniping dino lords as well. I actually think he's pretty good. I like the Witch Hunter. I've been trying him out quite a bit. And the Cav charge is going to be coming in the front, going after some skinks, trying to get some free value. But for my opponent's army, it's going to be a combination of red-crested skinks and skink cohorts, supported by Croxagors to come in and smash. He does also have red-crested skinks for a little bit of extra armor piercing. Tehenwyn up in the sky, and it looks like Cold One Knight's back in the trees here, hiding from the cannon, so definitely a good play. But look at the damage coming in on those guys. Massive charge from Demogryph Knights. Definitely buttering that bread pretty well, able to take out, looks almost 10 skinks. Over here in the deep vanguard, he does have the Colossodon Hunters, and these guys are really beastly. If the Colossodon Hunters get a good counter charge on the Demogryph Knights, for example, if I'm like fighting something else and they charge into the back and pop that Toad Rage, they will tear them apart. They do so much damage, so I really have to be careful and respect these guys. Watch out for the flanks. On top of that, he has some regular Pterodon Riders. I think he has 2 groups, and they're pretty good against cannons. They can sit on top of them, drop rocks on them, and then shoot them with poison darts. A good utility pick against the Empire. I like it quite a bit. So let's get the show on the road, guys, and have some fun. So the first charge is coming in. Demogryph Knights getting a ton of work in against those skinks. I mean, it's not a ton of gold, maybe like 300 gold worth of value. And the Witch Hunter is going to be running up as well, so I figured, hey, let's get him close. You can, 360 no-scope some of these Croxagors, and it looks like the Croxagors are going to get set on him, which was kind of my plan. I wanted to hold them in place, delay their charge, get the cannons shooting, and the cannons this entire time have actually been shooting at Croxagors. I do accuse them as well, trying to lower their missile resist to make my cannons a little bit more effective. But here in the front, the Croxagors are going to be surging into the Flagellants, and I will be countercharging with the Royal Outdwarf Gryphites, trying to get that bonus first large on these guys. Really trying to chew them down because, the Flagellants, though they are unbreakable, they are going to get killed very quickly by a combination of these skinks with the poison plus the Croxagor smash. So we're going to be charging in, and I can't remember if I pop all the buffs right now. I think I do in just a moment, so we'll find out. These Flagellants are going to be falling back, taking some darts to the face, and it looks like the Croxagors are going to be surging past my front line. The Witch Hunter's done some pretty good damage, but he gets a very nice charge into the Greatswords. And here in the back, it looks like Pterodon Riders as well are going to be shooting some darts into the Great Cannon, and I do have my Shielded Spearmen trying to intercept some of those shots. So we do pull back from the front line. We get the Demogryph Knights, and they absolutely annihilate these Croxagors, just take them to town. They got the full charge, they had the buffs from Volkmar the Grim, and they're able to just tear those guys to pieces. So far the backline has been secured for Sigmar. The front line is taking a beating, as expected. Here we do drop an Earthblood as well to heal up those troops. And the Colossodon Hunters are coming in. It's a very bold move, but they're trying to get the charge on the Gryphites, but I have a lot of support back here. And seeing that charge come in, I do also pull back my other Demogryph Knights. I countercharge them, and Tehenwyn's dropping the Manticore. So this is going to be a big fight here. Really going to be determining a lot of the aspects of the battle. Toad Rage has been popped to a man. The Royal Outdwarf Gryphites give no shits. They're tearing apart these Colossodon Hunters, and here the Cold One Knights are coming in, and not going to get too much value because I was already able to finish off those Colossodon Hunters. think they're done for the most part. Yeah, it looks like they have 4 models. Wyson's Wild Form does make him quite a bit more tanky there with 75 armor, but the Griffites have no problem dealing with armor. Now, the bounce bar is actually still quite even. He's able to do some pretty good work in the back line, you know, disrupting my cannons. They haven't been shooting for quite some time, and it's only a matter of time before the Flagellants do buckle. There's 10 brave souls of Sigmar right here, 9 left. The ones in the front line are going to be going down, so the infantry fight is getting a little bit dicey. Granted, I do pull slightly ahead on the bounce of power, having done very well in the back line with the Demogryph Knights. So at this point, we are going to be disengaging. We're going to be running because the Feral Manticore is a summoned unit, which will be timing out here in about 15-20 seconds. So I figured there was no point sitting and fighting that thing and letting it get additional kills unless I absolutely had to. So now Skinks are going to be surging into the back line, and my cannons are going to be going down here. You can see I do have 1 great cannon here, which is broken, at which point my opponent is going to be able to pretty much just chase that off the battlefield. Right here, the Witch Hunter is also engaged in melee combat, providing the debuffs with Accusation. That's really good. Definitely has a lot of synergy. I mean, you can use some of the other Lords of Magic to really like meddle. You could use Gelt plus a Witch Hunter to just like nuke the armor of different targets. Really has a lot of utility, I think. So the Manticore is going to be charging in as well, and it looks like Tehenowin was actually trying to snipe my Witch Hunter there for a minute, but the Witch Hunter was getting the best of Tehenowin in that duel. He was able to fall back and shoot, and here you can see Tehenowin does land in the back, trying to finish off the Great Cannons. The Hammer of the Witches, over the course of this game, has really just been destroying the Croc scores and some of those other big targets. So going after the cannon, really trying to finish that off, I certainly understand that. So here you can see that Tehenowin is going to be getting the business from Volkmar. His mustache is too powerful, and Lizard Moses here, the religious leaders of their respective factions, are going to be going fisticuffs. So Tehenowin is going to get terrified, I think. Yeah, you would think like the Prophet of Sotek would kind of be like enough of a zealot, right, not to be like terrified. But anyways, he's going to be coming back right now, and basically we just have to hold the Skinks. You can see there's 117 here, but the Sons of Sigmar are coming in, and they did pretty good. 94 kills here, and these Flagellants were able to win their respective fights against these Skink cohorts. Up to 140 kills on those guys, certainly not bad. There are some Chameleons here on the flanks as well, shooting into the back of the Greatswords, but the Greatswords have a pretty good little fight here, fighting against infantry. Their bonus versus infantry is going to be incredibly strong, and it looks like Tehenowin is going to be dropping a really nice Flock of Doom, able to hit pretty much my entire army. But the Witch Hunter this entire time, I've just been sitting and just taking pot shots at Tehenowin. Oh, look at that shot. Beautiful stuff. 896 HP, and Volkmar the Grim and company are able to clean up the remnants of the Dino Mobile Force. So you can see over here the Pterodon Riders do come back in, try and get some picks, but Volkmar the Grim is not having that shit today. So he's able to get the Grand Hammer of Sigmar, and with that, Tehenowin is going to be getting, saved by the bell. He's probably about to get jumped off, although it looks like he's about to drop his tablet. Or is he holding that? He has little like dinosaur clutches on that thing. Yeah, it looks like his claws are. He's like, oh god, help me. So guys, that's it, and it was definitely a pretty decent little Empire build. And after the game, my opponent did mention that he was expecting Karl Franz, and had I brought Franz, it certainly would have been a little bit of trouble. Tehenowin plus Colossadon Hunters like up in the sky. I mean, I had the cannons to support, but I don't really like bringing like handgunners or crossbows in this matchup because I feel that the dinosaurs are so good at swarming with Skinks, and they have a lot of mobility and Pterodon Riders. It's just very hard to protect those assets. Cannons, a little bit easier, and due to the range, they're going to get some value before the battle starts. So worst case scenario, even if you screw up and fail to protect them, you are going to at least net some, you know, I wouldn't say positive value, but some value before the fighting really starts. So I think the cannons are pretty good here. 2, I don't know if 2 is the way to go. I think so. If you're playing that like defensive style of play, 2 is pretty good. Cold Moon Knights, Croxagores, those are really common in this matchup, even in the the most high levels of play. So I think having the double cannon is pretty good. A little bit tough to protect for sure, but the Demogryph Knight Hammer with Volkmar or an Arch-Elector is very, very strong. You can also use a Warrior Priest if you want to use like Karl Franz, even still. And I mean, if I had Karl, what I probably would have tried to do is just use the cannons to shoot the Colossadon Hunters and, hope he can survive. I mean, the Witch Hunter could help from the ground as well. That would be very bad, though, because Colossadon Hunters, and you can't, of course, toggle landing, which is something that I think would be very nice in this game. If you have, like, a Flying Lord, I think it'd be really cool to be able to, like, toggle land, but there would have to be some, like, restrictions around it. Like, you can do it once every, like, certain amount of time or something, so you can't just, like, because what I can see being an issue with that is people would start spamming it, right? So they just, like, spam click it, and he, like, is going up and down and up and down, and it's kind of like, I can see that being something that in terms of like bugginess like could be taken advantage of. So I think like toggle landing, I think if there's like a cooldown on it, I think that would make for some really cool gameplay to like land Malekith behind his army and just run in with the dragon on the ground instead of like flying. And because if your opponent commits to a flying goon squad, it just becomes like a rock paper scissors at that point. And if you take that risk, and you basically just lose the game, which I think isn't very good for a competitive balance. But anyway, it's just kind of something I wanted to rant about a little bit. But I think the army was okay. It really does come down to the big fights of the Demogryph Knights. I mean, if they get the jump on you with the Cold Moon Knights, and like for example, had we had an open field fight and the Spear Riders engaged the Demogryph Knights, Demis would be winning for sure. But then if Tehenowin summons a Manticore and the Colossadon Hunters rear charge you, then that goes from like a fight you're easily winning to a fight that's like a toss-up, a 50-50. I mean, you could even lose it depending on the attacks of Tehenwyn and some of the other supporting elements, especially with Wyson's Wild Form. That's really nice, giving the extra armor and the weapon damage. So, I mean, it really just comes down to the big cav fights, and we were able to get those optimal fights. Our cav were able to really hammer out the Croc scores initially. They beat down the Clostodon Hunters before the Cold Knights could get in position, and it ended up being a pretty good situation. But it really just depends on that cav fight. That's really what determines that matchup there. So yeah, well played in my opponent, the Great Man Bear Pig. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Empire versus Lizardman showdown, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.